Hey, what's up, everybody? Tommy C here we got a Glory Hunter special. We're going over the Champions League and how we think it's going to be breaking down in the future, predictions, and all that. I'll hand you over to my host, the most, Mr. Glory Hunter, and Nick. Where are you in this Champions League this coming draw?
Hello there.
Hello there.
Um, there's a lot of interesting games here today. So I think we'll start off with Benfica versus Barcelona. Now, Barcelona, top of La Liga at the moment. They're flying high. They've currently just beaten Atletico Madrid in the cup, I believe. And so
That would be second.
this one
That's
is,
first leg. That's first leg, by the way. They did beat them,
oh
but
yeah, yeah,
it's
it's
first
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 leg.
leg. Yeah, first leg
Mhm.
semifinals. But go ahead.
So it's looking like this might be a very tough matchup for Benfica. But I wonder, do you feel differently about that, Leach?
I do feel nothing. I do have autism, but let's get back to other things.
Well, how do you feel about Benfica then?
I feel even less about them than I do about other things. Though they are more involved in the title race in Portugal than they were at the start of the season, I think they will get run out of the stadium pretty hard in this one. Though they've always been good for like a random surprise in the Champions League, and considering that they got through their encounter with Monaco, we're currently on a good run in the French league, though that doesn't count because the French league is like the Farmers League of farm leagues.
Yes.
They made it out of the prior round against a team that was in form, so might be a little bit more problematic because Barca just got back into form and hasn't been on like the craziest form overall lately. They just are getting back into like the groove, so that might be a bit more bothersome.
Yeah, but the thing with this Barcelona team is like recently in the like European competition, you saw it under Xavi before in like the Europa League and like the Champions League recently, they have been bottle jobs a bit. So is there a possibility that this could be the banana skin for them, right? You know, not going to be taking Benfica too seriously, you would assume, because of the difference in size of the clubs. But like I say, they've been bottling things recently. So do you think there's a chance of that, Hentai?
No, I don't think so. I think Benfica is one of those clubs that's cursed, isn't it? The 100-year curse they have.
Yes.
So I don't think they're going to win it. I don't think they'll go through. I think they're going to
Jeez.
lose. The curse will remain
The curse
for another 100 years.
Do you believe in the curse? Like, do you believe in curses?
And I mean, they haven't won, haven't they? Any like European Cup.
Oh, fair enough. I lose the argument. You're right.
Well, so that's two people who don't feel like a lot of faith in Benfica. But Mr. Darcy, do you think any different, or are you going with the other guys, Benfica or Duncan?
Well, to be honest with you, you're going to have three on this one because it seems like Barcelona with a really good, incoming. You know what I'm saying? They've been so good this season, quite possibly the favorites to go to the finals, and not that much that injuries. But Benfica has a lot of injuries, including one of their star players, Di Maria, and it is a possibility that Di Maria may come back, and it might give a little swindle. It might tie the game on leg one, but leg two, I don't know. But Benfica has the advantage on game one. Barcelona, when they go to game two to Barcelona, I don't know. They better put everything they got on leg two.
Yeah, I think they'd be lucky to be even close to level in leg two. I think Barcelona's in a place. I know they just recently took the top spot, but I really don't see this being the banana peel. I mean, this is one of the great La Liga years where all the big three teams, even with Bilbao, climbing up the rear, are very very equal. Yeah, well, they're in the rear. They're climbing in there. I really don't see Barcelona messing this up. I think this is a walkthrough, and quite possibly when we get to the second leg, it's going to be over before it started. I just don't see this being too much of a problem. I do, however, think it's going to be very difficult for Barcelona to take this entire tournament. I just, it's something about this club, especially with all the registration issues and financial issues. I think that kind of stuff kind of does trickle down mentally to the locker room, and I think that we will see Barcelona go out, but not this round.
We spoke the other day on the podcast actually about a couple of Barcelona players up for the Ballon d'Or. Do you reckon there's going to be a specific one of those who's going to shine in this tie?
If anybody, it's Lamau, because Lamau's the future of football, if you ask me. I think it's the one thing that he hasn't done yet is dominate, and probably won't win the Ballon d'Or unless he does put something. But if he puts up a hat trick and then has a good rest of the run for the tournament, they win the league, and then you have to start talking like Lamau's got Ballon d'Or hopes, 17 years old, which is incredible. But I just don't think that's the year for him. I still think he's a developing player, and I think he's going to develop to one of the all-time greats. But not this year. I think they're going to have to probably lean on weapons like Lewandowski and certainly Olmo. Not as much as a veteran, but definitely one of the most dangerous players on that team.
Yeah, so not a lot of hope in Benfica, but looking at the next tie, Benfica were probably hoping to have got one of these two teams, I think, in Borussia Dortmund and Lille. Certainly going to be easier fixtures than Barcelona would have been.
But Dortmund was in the final. They were in the final last year.
Yeah.
Last year, yeah, but as I was about to bring up, 10th in the Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund.
Oh God.
Now, on paper, they may seem like the better team there, but 10th in the Bundesliga, they're really not at it this season.
No.
Lille 4th in Liga aren't too impressive either, so I'm curious, Mr. Darcy, who do you have winning this one?
Well, with Lily having some problems as of late, it's Brazil. BVB, I give them the edge because they could come back at any time, and they have a really good squad. Besides Gordon Sancho, they lost him. It would have helped, but they don't have him. But I give Borussia Dortmund the edge to win this. Leg one is going to be they better have at it. But when it gets to leg two, Lily has the advantage. I mean, at home, so it could be crazy. It could be crazy, but I'm just going to give it to Borussia Dortmund.
I could see this being the sleeper game as far as entertainment's concerned. Like, no, everybody's turned into Bayern and Leverkusen and some of the other more established clubs. I could see this being a wild sleeper game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're two sides that have a lot of quality there, but not like best in the world quality, but like talented, fun players, especially with some unique skill sets. Like Dortmund have Pascal Gross, who's just a fantastic passer and had 4 assists the other day with Guirassy, who's like a goal machine up top on their side. But then you've also got the Canadian wonder striker Jonathan David on that Lille team. I know Hentai's spoken a bit about him before in the Discord. Do you reckon he'll get some goals here, or are you putting your money on Dortmund?
I mean, I think Lille's just a better team on paper and are not in poor form like Dortmund is. Dortmund, I think, since the Champions League final have completely fallen off a cliff, and their quality is slowly regressing. It wouldn't surprise me if next year they're in a relegation battle, because currently they're not doing so hot. They're not doing so good at all. I think Lille probably has a better opportunity, but I do think it'll probably end up like a 1-0 victory after both legs. I think Lille will probably take it.
Do you think? I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. Glory Hunter H, I think we should call you. I don't know. Hentai's the best name for you. But do you think? I mean, they still have a lot of guys that have been there, guys that know how to win. Nobody really thought of them too much last year, much less being in the final. Even though they were much farther up the Bundesliga table. How much is experience going to take in? Because that stuff, guys that have been in battle before and survive it are much more. They're much more likely to find a way to win when you have battle-hardened guys. And I don't know too much about this French side. I'll be completely honest with you, but you have a lot of younger guys over there, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, it should be usually a lot more younger guys. But I do think like Dortmund, just in general, in terms of form and like their players not really being all up to par, especially being 10th right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lille has a slight edge over them. I think just in terms, I think of like that just in terms of the striker, I think Jonathan David is a decently good striker. I think he could show up for this match. But I do think it's going to be like a really narrow victory. I do think it's going to be mostly parking the bus on Dortmund's side, like they tried doing, or like they did with PSG, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At that point.
No, they're definitely a more defensive-minded team.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be like parking the bus for the majority of like the first two legs. I do think Lille will manage to break through. I do think that they're probably a better side just on paper.
It'd be interesting to see. The odds have Dortmund being the favorite by about 3 points, but it would be interesting to see.
Yeah. So it sounds like Tommy's pulling for Dortmund there. One thing I did want to ask quickly though, Tommy, is that you said about their experience, but they did also lose some players. You got like Mats Hummels gone, Fulkrug gone from the squad. I know Guirassi's been scoring like a man up top for them, but Fulkrug, especially in that final, really came up big for Dortmund, and obviously, as Darcy said, Sancho's gone. Do you think that's going to make much of a difference?
Yes, I do.
Because
I think that even less quality players that have been that deep in a game like Champions League final take something away from that somebody at their same age and skill level doesn't have. I'll always give the edge to a player that maybe not be as skilled, may not be as quality, but has been a part of a winning team. And they did go all the way to final, and they did give Real Madrid what they could. I think that's invaluable experience. I'm not totally pulling for BVB. I'm not super familiar with this French side as I am most of Liga, but I do know that when you have teams that have learned how to win and how not to lose, I think even the guys that come in off the bench that experienced that last year, I think that'll be benefit the rest of the team. Maybe just enough. I do think this is going to be very close. I don't think any team's running away with it. This may be Lille's year for those young guys to prove themselves. But they're still going to have to get past Dortmund, and that's a big club in Europe. And I think I'd be very surprised if Lille just coasts through these first 2 legs.
Certainly. Leach, are you backing your fellow Germans in this tie, or are you going to defect to the French?
I honestly don't know what to say.
So you're autistic again.
No. It's how should I phrase this? The seeding for Dortmund is certainly higher. The question is if they can reach it, because just from sheer quality in the teams, Dortmund just completely outshines the overall composition of the other side. The issue is going to be if they can put a team on the pitch that played similar than they played last weekend. Because Dortmund's team from last weekend that smashed Union Berlin out of the park 6-0 is a team that can easily also beat Lille.
Okay.
The team that was there prior probably couldn't. Because there's, as much as we might be dumping on Lille, they ended up in the top 7 of the Champions League group stages. On this new group stage system.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, they were quality-wise good enough to be ranked 1 point above Dortmund, who are just slightly below them.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see this as... This is probably like a coin toss. if Dortmund finds like top form, they'll beat them. If not, then Lille will probably go through. This is anything but guaranteed.
All right. Well, from 10th in the Bundesliga, in the next tie, we shoot all the way up to the top 2.
Mm.
We have an all-German tie here with Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich. Obviously, last year's champions versus the perennial champions. I know that they've been very close, even this season. Even though, like, Bayer Leverkusen aren't the team they were last season, the ties between these two teams have both been draws in the league, I believe.
Mhm,
With
that's right.
Leverkusen coming out on top in the cup. And we covered the Celtic game live on the channel against Bayern Munich. And I was talking then on that one about how I don't quite trust Vincent Kompany's tactics. Yeah, I don't think he's quite that good of a coach yet. He's obviously very new, whereas Xabi Alonso has shown himself to be an absolute machine, like a beast of a man when it comes to tactics. And, you know, with his perfect season last year, he's shown he's a very intelligent coach. So I wonder, Leach, do you think that Leverkusen will be cruising ahead, or will Bayern Munich reclaim the German supremacy?
It's a coin flip for this game, because there was a very, very noticeable headline after, even though Bayern went through, there was a headline in Germany because the final is going to be in Munich. The headline read, "This way Bayern won't make it to Munich if they play like that," which is, by the way, a very, very clever headline. Credit to whoever came up with that. And the issue is that Leverkusen played this out of form Bayern team, and I'm saying out of form like in the lightest way possible, because this out of form Bayern team has been unbeaten for like 8 games, right? But when I say out of form, is that the last few games weren't as convincing as they usually were. There were like a lot of like 4-3, 1-2, 3-2. The Bremen game and the Frankfurt game were smash out of the park victories. So if that Bayern side shows up, I don't know who will win. But considering that they just faced off like 10 days ago, and that was a draw with both teams at essentially full power, we are most likely looking at a coin toss between these two teams. I couldn't tell you which one would go through. It's like it's a slight advantage probably Bayern, but it's not a huge advantage. Both of these teams are very able in playing football.
I've kind of lost my faith in Leverkusen this year, and you know, the tactics of the great Xabi Alonso, who more than likely will be there after this. I think you know, you're hearing Wirtz is looking on what Real Madrid's looking at him. I think this team's focus is elsewhere, and I expect Harry Kane, who's not going to have too many more Champions League runs in him, to have a huge game. That being said, ESPN said that Bayern's performance was sleepy against Celtic, and I'm going to bet that is not going to be the case. They definitely, in the Bayern papers, or the Bavarian papers, they were very, very hard on Bayern with just slipping past Celtic in injury time. I expect a standout performance by Bayern, and I think they're going to put this generation of Leverkusen to bed. And I think Leverkusen after this will probably just go back to being a regular team, because there's so many guys that just, you know, want to move up the football ranks. And you know, Xabi has not been as effective. I don't know if it has much to do with him. I think it probably has to do with the distraction of moving up that ladder. And yeah, I think Harry's going to show up big. And if Harry Kane's on his game, he's just putting up a dominant performance with that team behind him, I don't think there's too many teams in the world can beat him, and I expect to see that. I think they got the message from Celtic, and they're going to move ahead against Bayer Leverkusen.
Ooh, fighting talk there from Tommy, really backing Bayern.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised by that after we watched Celtic really kind of outplay them last time. So I'm a bit surprised you come out punching for Bayern. Munich there.
I'm judging by how the German papers hit them, and I think they're going to respond positively to that negativity, and it's a bet, because under normal circumstances, I would just say this is a like a coin flip. Like, look, both teams aren't setting the world on fire. Yeah, Bayern's ahead, but Leverkusen's not what they were, and Bayern firing on all cylinders is a Champions League final quality team. And I cannot see Harry Kane not coming out there and even maybe possibly carrying this club with quick goals, quick headers here and there, a big play, big assist. I think you're going to see the best of Harry Kane. And I think if the team's playing reasonably well behind that, I don't think Leverkusen
Well, on the other side of the coin, I may be guessing which side he's going to go for, but our resident shit lover, Mr. Hentai, are you backing your boy to go against Bayern, or do you agree with Tommy that they're going to come out on top of this one?
I mean, this is going to be a really fucking tough match, honestly. In terms of both teams are really good. They've been quite informed, both teams. Bayern was shaky during the Celtic match, I think. I think anyone could see that. But I do believe Leverkusen might pull through. It's going to be really close, though. I think this is another one that's going to be maybe first leg is going to be 0-0, and second leg is where everything kicks off. But I do think Leverkusen could pull off a victory because, once again, Bayern Munich have Harry Kane, who's cursed to never win the trophy. So, he might win the Bundesliga trophy, though. That might break the curse. But I do think, as far as Champions League goes, I don't think he's going to win anything. I think he's going to... I think this is where his streak ends, unless he's on the bench.
The paranormal rules here on Glory Hunters.
The Benfica curse and the Kane curse.
Let's just highlight that both teams are at a minimum on a 7-game unbeaten streak. Leverkusen 7 games and Bayern 8.
Maybe they just draw infinitely.
Yeah.
But it all ends in penalty shots. Don't forget about that.
Even there, they will draw. It will be the first time that we will have a fused quarterfinal. 2 teams combining into one.
Jeez.
Mr. Darcy, who you backing?
Well, when I look at this game and I see how defensively Bayern Leverkusen has been lately, and to keep these wins, to keep these draws, to stay unbeaten, they almost hitting what they used to be last season. But it's not like how this is their first time in Champions League in how many years, And this is quite possibly going to be like an amazing show. But the thing is that Bayern Munich has to go in early, had to strike first, ask questions later, because they're at home. Because their first game's at home, they have the crowd, they have the advantage. Every time you're there, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Pardon my language. But due to the fact that Bayern Leverkusen is defensively good, I get the edge to them. But you have to be aware of how much gameplay and how much ideas that Bayern Munich can have. And I don't know what company can do during the second game, because if he gets frustrated, the whole team is down. The whole thing will crumble. So Bayern Munich has to win this game, the first game, early and score big. So on that note, I'm going to take the edge to Bayern Munich. As much as I hate them, as much as they eliminated us last season, I'm taking Bayern Munich.
I'm not a big fan of Bayern either, but I just think they're going to pull it out. I agree with you. Hello? All right, there we go.
All right, yeah. Sorry. Right, so on to the next fixture. We've got Feyenoord versus Inter Milan. Now, interestingly, Feyenoord knocked out the other Milan side to get there. So, is it going to be the Milan killers once more with Feyenoord, or are we going to see the Italian champions assert their dominance? I know Inter had a pretty good run season before, where they obviously got to the final, lost to Manchester City, and they've got a lot of the same players there. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that experience argument that Tommy made for Dortmund will come into play here. Feyenoord, it's going to be a tall ask for them. I think they've got some very good young players there, but it's quite a mountain to climb, don't you think, Leach?
I don't know how they will pass through this. Honestly, they're going to get... Either it will be like one of those stupid grind games where nothing is happening because for some reason the Italians think they should hide behind a fucking wall of concrete and then they win like 1-0. Or Rotterdam somehow manages to build the concrete wall and do it like they did it with Milan. But in 99 out of 100 scenarios, it has to be Inter that wins. Like, there is no shot that Feyenoord makes this. They are so far out of their, like, realm of possibility to just even be there. Yeah, I give them literally no chance. There's no possibility. And if the possibility is I'm going to eat a broom, like a literal broom.
Sweep them out.
Yep.
I don't think the young talent's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be quite a blowout. I think Inter will find their way through, but not without a dogfight. And I could see Rotterdam, Feyenoord, whatever they call themselves there in the Netherlands. I could see a lead after the second leg. They do have lots of young guys over there. That Dutch league, in a lot of ways, is better than the French league. I think, they talk about the Big Five. It's really, I think the Dutch league has much more quality over there than it does than France does. That just a big development league. So no, I think Inter gets by skin of their teeth.
Their teeth. Interesting. Mr. Darcy, what do you think?
Now, when I look at Inter Milan and quite possibly have one of the best players in all of Italy, Martinez. They have been successful as of late, but have been going down as a bit, including with their formation is not that bad because I see formations like what they have. They're really good defensively, offensively as well. Feyenoord has to work out a plan to get into Inter Milan and win that game and then win the whole thing by aggregate. But when it comes to Inter Milan, they've been Champions League prowess for many years, and they have the advantage. They have the edge in my book. So that being said, I think Inter Milan's going to take Feyenoord out of the tournament for real.
I just don't see a bunch of young. I mean, from what I've seen of the Dutch league, they play a much more open style, and Inter is a typical Italian team. They're very disciplined defensively. Do they have enough talent? I mean, they did get rid of AC Milan. Do they have enough talent to get by Inter? I just don't see it, and not 2 times in a row. Like to see it, by the way. Like to see Feyenoord do it, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, to think about AC Milan, like I feel very bad that I really wanted them to beat them, but it was like I really wanted to see that Italian prowess. Now we have like the German 2. I mean, the best of the Germany and then the best of Italy. Come on, it would have been killer. It's sick.
What do you think, Hentai?
I mean, I think Inter Milan has got this. I think Feyenoord just isn't that good of a team. They knocked out AC Milan, yes, but they took them out after Theo Hernandez was sent off. Like, if you notice that Milan game, you rewatch that game. After Hernandez goes off, AC Milan just completely self-implodes, and they completely get way too open. And that's when Feyenoord manages to strike more. So unless like they could get like a red card on any of like the Inter players, I don't think Feyenoord has much of a chance, even like offensively
I
or
agree.
defensively,
You're right.
because Inter Milan is still, I think, one of the best defensive-minded teams in the Italian league. So I do think Inter Milan are going to go and breeze through this completely.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting many people to turn around and give Feyenoord a chance there. It's quite a big ask for them. They've just got Robin van Persie in as their coach, though, so maybe the legend of the game can inspire a miracle. But
If it's an
chances
open
are
game, I think they can beat them.
not.
If it's a wide open game, sort of like
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like red card, like it depends. If for some reason the Inter goes in and wants to run with those kids, yeah, they'll lose. But I just don't see that happening.
The biggest problem for Rotterdam is that they also lost Jimenez, ironically enough, to AC Milan. And then in the game that they played against AC Milan, he also scored the goal against them, and yet they didn't make it through. So the retribution arc is already won for them because they lost their best striker to their opponents. Then that guy scores a goal and they still don't go through. So for them, this is probably like classic gets. If they go through this, going back to eating the broom.
PSV versus Arsenal. The Premier
No.
League title is starting to look out of reach a little for Arsenal. So is their eyes going to turn more to the Champions League, I wonder? Mr. Darcy, this is your team, so I'll let you open up with your prediction.
I'm just gonna put it out there. Our team have an injury bug as of late.
You don't say.
Huge injury bug, like the
You don't-
biggest injury bug. Like
Don't
I'm talking
say.
about. The list is so bad it looks like a CVS receipt.
It's so bad you got like defenders playing striker.
Yes, using Mikel Marino as a striker, a midfielder as a striker. But let this be known that people are coming back during this type of month. So anything can happen. Like Ben White just came back, but there's a possibility that Kayo Saka or Martinelli might come back and really help out, just even it out against PSV. But PSV has a really good squad, but as Arsenal, we tend to make comebacks when we put the switch on. So game one at PSV, we have to make sure that at least you have a clean sheet out of it, but maybe a tie. But when they come into the Emirates, they better watch the fuck out, because we're not going to stop, and we have to stop to get to that dream match that we all wanted, that everybody wants to see as an Arsenal fan. But only time will tell.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, to be honest. I think Arsenal there's just so much quality in that team, even with the injuries. You've still got so many good players like Ødegaard, Rice, the back two of Gabriel and Saliba is just absolutely phenomenal. So even without a striker, surely Arsenal have too much for PSV.
Well, here's another thing we're all forgetting is just the sheer amount of PSV injuries. Just about all the Americans are out. And it's going to sound strange, but the Americans are the heart of this team. Tillman, Dest, Pepe, all out, not playing in this game, as far as I can see right now. And I think that that's going to be a difficult to overcome. I don't see they do it. I think if PSV is at full strength, I think they get through. But not today, folks. Not this time. Too many injuries, too many key players. Too much to overcome. Is something broken?
Something broken. So
Yeah, that's a lot of dead air. Somebody pick up the ball.
Hey Ty, what do you think about this game against PSV and Arsenal?
I think it's going to be quite difficult for Arsenal in terms of, I think, attacking force if Saka's not back in time. Because I do think putting Old Man Sterling as potential striker or like a winger or whatever, it's going to end up bad for them. Even if they put like Mikel Merino up front, I don't think he's going to have that capability, especially versus the PSV team, which has been pretty good. They were decent against Juventus. They completely like wiped the floor with Juventus. So I do think PSV has a chance. Now, Arsenal could still win it, but I do think in terms of like anything, I think PSV is probably gonna edge through it. I think Arsenal are gonna bottle it and not win anything this year again.
Well, yeah, they'll probably bottle it, but surely not to PSV yet. Surely we see Arsenal get through and then lose to Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid the next round. That's when I think they'll probably bottle it. Surely not to PSV, Leach.
If they lose to PSV, it would be hilarious. Because I'm just looking at this team, right? I'm just looking at the lineup for like this team, and the only good aspect of the entire team of PSV is the two defensive midfielders and their two center backs. Those guys are all class, right? But the entire rest of the team, and we spoke about the injury problems of Arsenal being
It's
bad,
it's
right?
both sides. That's the thing. They're both hobbled.
No. Yeah, but it's especially it's the key players. Tommy's right about that. But the injury problem, because they have been relying on Ricardo Pepi, and their second striker is Luc de Jong. Yeah, and their backup for Luc de Jong, if he gets injured, is Lucas Perez, a guy who was so bad that he didn't even keep his contract at La Coruña, and they brought him in as a backup for de Jong in case of problems. If you want to tell me that either de Jong or Perez is somehow magically going to break Arsenal, I'm going to go back to eating the... As much as I like Dutch football, I don't see a single inch of a chance that they will have a shot. They have freaking Perisic going down the right wing. Even Perisic, the undead Croatian guy. What is they supposed to do? Nothing.
Did you see his goal against Juve last week?
I did, but it's still, as I said, undead Croatian. No.
He can only come alive once, and that was him done for the tournament.
Yep.
The undead.
Well, over to the Spanish capital now for probably the biggest game of the tournament. So far. Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid should be a very spicy fixture. Both of them battling out for the La Liga title with Barcelona at the moment. Both have some absolute stars there with like Antoine Griezmann and Alvarez over on Atletico, and Jude Bellingham and Vinicius at Real Madrid. Which team is going to eke this one out, do you think, Hentai?
I think it's going to be really interesting, this one. You have both Madrid sides, right? And both of them are in pretty good form. I do think Atletico might have a bit of the edge. I do think Julian Alvarez will get revenge for us. He'll get revenge for City for us. And knock out Madrid in terms of everything.
Yeah.
But it's like...
could be an interesting narrative.
If I want to say who would win, I do think maybe Atletico, because Real Madrid are kind of not in form at points sometimes. Especially sometimes they're not in form. They're not good.
They're not a dominant team this year.
They're not that dominant.
They're not that dominant. I mean, it is a three-way race, and all three are strong sides, but they're not. They haven't just up and taken over yet. And I give Atletico much more of a chance. I think barring, this is all I have to say about it, and you guys can take it from here. I think barring an Mbappe explosion, which could very well happen, I think Atletico walks through. Not too hard. I'll even put it in by 2 goals.
Really?
They're gonna run a train. I think Atletico will run a train. Feels like Bellingham's girlfriend has gotten a train run over.
Oh God! Let me, if I can say this, you got me for two players in Real Madrid, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. You have to put them in their pocket. For the defensive line for Atletico Madrid, they need to think like a really good strategy to pocket Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. You have to, because if you ever see defensive sides from like other squads, mostly, I mean, I could just say, this is Spain. This is not England, but when you watch English side, defensive sides are really strong, but when it comes to Spain, I don't know. They just have to think. They have to watch some tapes on how to deal with to pocket Mbappe and Vinicius Jr.
Yeah, Mbappe and Vinicius definitely the danger man. Tommy, you say that barring an Mbappe explosion, but what about a Vinicius explosion? We saw it last year in the Champions League, and Vinicius was the guy who kept coming up with the goods whenever they needed it to get them through, and that's why he was so high in the Ballon d'Or vote. And so,
is he in the high? Is he high on the Ballon d'Or? But is he high on the Ballon d'Or vote now?
I don't think so. I think most of
I don't think so.
No, then there's my answer. Because he's not the same player.
I mean, when was the last time Vinny scored a La Liga goal?
Good question. I'm not sure.
Hasn't it been like 3 or 4 months at this point? Hasn't scored a La Liga goal.
Eventually, yeah. But like I said, he's a man for the big moments, Vinicius. I just think it's foolish to write him off when that is what he's shown over the past couple of years is the big moments. Vinicius is there. He will make something happen. He'll score.
I mean, he'll cry. He'll just fall. I cry to the ref.
I think that's fair too, and it goes back to what I was saying before. So I don't look like a total hypocrite. I'm really judging this on the team. He's won it. He went the whole way. He got the championship. He knows what it's doing. I mean, any one of those two guys, if they were to explode, I just don't see it coming from Vinicius this year. I see, Mbappe is the one that's progressively getting better, becoming more dominant. If you look at his stats now, you wouldn't know that he had a rough September and a rough October. He's got the train running. I actually like Real Madrid's defense a lot better than I like Atletico's defense. But I know I think they've held the number one spot for a reason. It's because they can beat the big teams in Liga, and I think they can beat this team. Like I said, barring Mbappe playing up to his kind of the GOAT standard that he may be. Mbappe's one of these players that has a shot to be talked out. He could be in the GOAT conversation in 10 years when he's looking to retire. But yeah, I just don't see that from Vinicius. Although he did come up big, and I don't think, in fairness to Nick, I don't think that can be dismissed completely. He's won it. He knows how to do it. Most of that team's been there. There's tons of you're talking the experience thing alone. I just. Sooner or later, Dad's got to lose, and I think it's this year.
Well, from two of the favourites for the tournament, we'll be stepping down to Club Brugge and Aston Villa.
Why did you say that?
We won't be seeing any of these teams in the final. I'm going to make that bold prediction now, but
okay,
one of those teams has to go through this round, and so who do you think, Mr. Darcy?
Well, don't count Aston Villa out, because I know they're going to take the edge against Club Brugge.
I wouldn't.
But we got to. But Club Brugge is like today's Cinderella story. In case for all the people who watches college basketball in America, but the American mind cannot comprehend how Champions League run. You know what I'm saying? So if Aston Villa could really beat Bruges, they have a chance. Quite possibly a chance to beat Liverpool, because not too long ago, Aston Villa, Liverpool, man, they've been doing some good battles. In the league.
Well, you get by these guys first. Let's not worry about Liverpool. Probably one of the best Liverpool teams we've seen in a couple of years.
If it happens.
Yeah,
if it happens.
I don't know, but not in Champions League. Come on.
But the Cinderella story still continues for Club Brugge. But I'm going to give the advantage to Aston Villa. It's going to be a good evening.
It's going to be a good evening for Villa. But recently, very recently, Aston Villa have not been very good. Today, as we record it, they just lost 4-1 to Crystal Palace. Now, are we really backing a side that is losing 4-1 to Crystal Palace to be a Champions League side like Bruges, who aren't the biggest name, but they're still in the Champions League. They still made it to this point.
Yes.
They knocked out Atalanta, the Europa League winners.
Yes.
So, do you think they can do it, Tommy?
Yes, and I'll tell. Well, can Villa get by Bruges? No, absolutely, and they should. Will it be difficult? I'm a big fan of that Belgian league. I think it's a great development league, and they just seem to be getting stronger and stronger all the time. If Villa were to take them not seriously for a minute, they're gonna, they'll be exiting in this round. I just think, you're giving me examples of losses in the Prem. I'm just going to go down the leagues on this one. I think even a bad Aston Villa will more than likely get over a Club Bruges at this point in the game. They play much harder teams. Even the teams that are at the bottom of the table in the Prem are a lot more difficult than most teams. Than most teams in the Prem. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Bruges would not be fighting relegation if they're in the league. So I got to give it to Villa, even if they're on a kind of a poor run. I think the Prince's team squeaks through, but that's it, and they get pounded next round.
Well, Leach, do you have more faith in the Belgians? I feel like, I don't know if they'd be fighting relegation as such in the Premier League. Maybe, like I say, knocking out Atalanta is a big win,
Sure.
and Atalanta's certainly not a side you'd be expecting to be fighting relegation in the Premier League. So, I don't know. Bruges could be a bit of a surprise one, I think. What do you think, Leach?
Yeah, they are not doing anything. They get absolutely battered and blasted. If they don't, I'm going back to eating the broom again. Because Club Bruges would not fight relegation. They'd probably be relegated in the Premier League. But
take that.
Considering they are literally second to Genk in their home league by 9 points. They're not even close to the first team at this point in their home league. And every blind in German, every blind chick once in a while finds a piece of corn, and just because they edged out the closest of, not even close, they battered Atalanta
5-2.
Yeah, it's fair, but they also didn't look that great in the group stage before that. So maybe the coach somehow figured out the one way to actually tear apart Atalanta's strategy, but I don't see him finding the way to tear through Aston Villa. If Villa's defense isn't deep asleep for 2 games, and Ezri Konsa decides to play his inner Heiko Westermann out, then they'll probably go through.
Yeah, but they do have Solis and Vanaken, who are quite good attacking players there. Mignolet had an absolutely great 2 games against Atalanta as well. So
yeah,
maybe goalkeeper can bail them out again.
But then again, it's freaking Mignolet. What do you expect? Dude has best day, world class goalkeeper, worst day, literally couldn't keep a fly out of anything. And he's no, nothing is happening. Absolutely going to get battered by 5-0 or something in both games.
I mean, I like the rise of the Belgian league. The Union Saint-Galoise, I think I'm saying that correctly. Genk, Royal Antwerp. I mean, these teams are making more and more of an impact every year on European football. But I going up against a Prem team, I think if they're on their game, I don't think they really have much of a chance. Bruges could make it close. But I don't see them walking. I don't think they're walking through. They're not. They're in that league. You're not going to be able to face guys that can run like guys in the Prem. And I think that'll be their down.
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to handle that.
Hentai, Morgan Rogers, Ollie Watkins. Tielemans. Surely that's all going to be too much for Bruges then, yeah?
Don't forget about Rashford.
Oh, yeah, and
I
Rashford.
mean, if you look at Villa's form in like recent times, since like January 18th, they have only won one of their like last, was it like 7 games? And it's like they're not in really good form right now. They are really underperforming. They're 10th in the Premier League. And I do think Club Brugge has a chance. You know, no one thought they would beat Atalanta. No one thought they were going to beat them. No one thought they were going to batter them either. I do think they could have a slight chance if Villa keep performing the way they do, and especially how Villa's just like completely falling apart. You know, they used to be like top 5, top 6. Like I think last season they ended up pretty high up, but this season they're just like completely falling apart. Similar to like Borussia Dortmund, they just keep either drawing or losing, and it should be like games that they should be winning. So I do think Club Brugge has a very slight advantage of winning against Villa, especially considering a recent form.
Slight.
Ah.
They could do it.
Slight,
It's
yeah.
possible. It's not impossible. I wouldn't say that. It's slight.
It's not impossible. I think they could probably beat Aston Villa, especially Aston Villa right now. Which
The way
are,
they're
like,
playing now, yeah, but I don't know.
they lost to fucking Palace, like completely.
Sure.
They got fucking battered. 4-1. That's like a battery and a half.
Yeah.
Sure.
But don't forget, Champions League is quite possibly different than Premier League. This is their first time in a long time since they've been in the championship, in the Champions League. So they have to switch it on. You know, Unai Emery's game plan does not work in the Premier League. It can work in Champions League, but even when he was at Arsenal, it sucked ass.
This next one ought to be quick.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be that quick.
Why?
It's because this top of France versus top of England.
Mm.
I know Liverpool are
Wow.
good. The Premier League's the better league, of course, but I'm a really big fan of PSG personally. I think they've got some absolutely phenomenal attacking talent with Barcola, Dembouz, Faradona, and Desiree Doué there. I think they've got such a good team. They play really good football under the Spanish coach Enrique. I think they could be quite a surprise to Liverpool, who eyes are maybe a bit more on winning the Premier League. But, you know, you think this one will be quick, Tommy?
Yes.
Tell us why.
Yes. This is a team, a Liverpool team they'll talk about in the future. I could see them running the gambit on this. I don't think anybody's stopping them. The only thing that's going to stop them is getting tired, and it's too early to get tired. They're going to run right through them. They got them on defense, they got them in the midfield, and they certainly got them with Mo Salah up front. I think this is a very easy thing. Now, that being said, I like the creativity. I like the same guys you like over Dembele. I like watching PSG. They're definitely interesting. There's a hell of a lot of talent, but I don't know. I think in a situation like that, when you have even talent up front, it's going to come down to defense. Defense wins championship. They got it over defensively. Conte and Van Dijk in spades. They will walk through this. This will not be much of a challenge. Anything less than 2 goals on aggregate is a loss for Liverpool.
But I don't know. You got Dembouz, who's playing at a Ballon d'Or level at the moment.
Sure.
He's been absolutely phenomenal. 13 goals in his last 10 games, and he's absolutely killing.
But
it.
he's not. He didn't go up
Very-
against Van Dijk or Conte in any of those games. He didn't go up against Alexander Arnold on the wing, and he certainly didn't run into a player like Mo Salah playing his absolute peak football.
I mean, Alexander Arnold got fucking cooked by Doku over the weekend, so I don't think it would be that hard.
They still lost, though.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't really fucking matter. When you get dribbled past, I think 12, 13 times as a fullback, I think that's more embarrassing than anything else.
No, I thought it was embarrassing when Ward-Prowse we got outrun by Raya.
16 assists, 25 goals. They're not fucking beating him. It's
No.
not
I
their
think-
year.
I-
They're not beating him.
I think PSG have a chance of winning this Champions League. Actually,
Yeah.
I do think
PSG.
that I do think they probably could beat this Liverpool side. Liverpool has not been like the recent games.
Sure.
Haven't been too impressive. They haven't been really too impressive this time around. I do think PSG has been the more dynamic side, especially in terms of like how
Agreed.
well they've been playing.
Agreed.
Like they completely batted Brest.
Yeah, but I
Brest.
mean,
Like, when
with any one of these like sort of like I said, teams you talk about. Wow, remember that 2025 Liverpool team. With any of these teams, Bayer Leverkusen last year, even Bayer, like where they kind of had a dead space of like 5 draws in a row last year to keep that thing up. They had a lot of draws in that perfect season, so to speak. I think that's all you're seeing now from Liverpool. Every superstar team, champions, memorable team does have a dip, and I think this is it, and I think it ends as soon as they kick off against PSG. I think this is the best team going into it, going into this competition, and they're more than likely, barring something crazy happening in the final, walk away with the title.
See, I think their knock of form does end in the Premier League, but I'm just not too sure about in the Champions League. Another thing to add to it as well is Arne Slot is a fantastic coach, but Jose Enrique is a treble-winning coach. He's been there. He's won the tournament. He's got so much more experience. He might be able to outsmart Arne Slot when it comes to it and find a way to win for PSG with all that talent he has in his team.
My only thought process of that is who is going to pocket Mo Salah? Because every game, almost every game he plays, he's going to score a goal. You got to find a way to stop that.
I don't think they can. I don't think they can. And no one else will be able to do it.
They better have a horseshoe up their ass to get a clean sheet. Not only at the cop. Maybe now they could try to get to score goals. At their hometown, but when they get to the cop, you better get a clean sheet out of that game for real.
You talk about the coaches before, Nick, and you think that PSG's coach is a little more dominant. I only think that comes into play where a coach can make a difference if it's close. If they're tied on aggregate, going to the 70th minute, maybe he can outsmart them. I just don't see them being able to contain Salah, and I don't. With all that creativity, it's going to have to be a hell of a lot to get to that defense. Arnold, Conte, Van Dijk, Robertson's not too bad too. As good as they are, and I'm not taking anything away from their talent or their quality, this team's on fire, and they're playing their absolute peak. Maybe not in recent games, but I just don't see them getting. Does anybody see Liverpool just falling off and losing the league to Arsenal? No, that's dead silence, and I don't see them having much of a problem with PSG.
I don't know. I just have a lot more faith in this PSG team. I just think there's so much talent there with such a good coach that I really think they could shock Liverpool.
Look. I don't want to say that they're not talented. I just think this is a once in a lifetime team. This is a team that we're going to remember, and we're not. And if I'm wrong, they get eliminated. If I'm wrong, they lose in Champions League. But this is a dominant performance that we're seeing from them, and I don't see them slowing down. Not in a big game like this. Well, I guess we covered them all the bases.
Yeah.
All right. All right, well, I hope you thought you enjoyed our little podcast or extra special. What do you think? Leave your comments in the description box below. We appreciate it. Join our Discord, hang out with us. Join the Glory Hunters. It's a good time. It's an open project. It's for everybody, and we're always looking for new voices and new talents. Even if you could clip a video, that would be really helpful. So, thank you very much, and have a great night.